So today I'm going to recap Game of Thrones Season 7 and what will follow on in Season 8. So first off, the Night King. Viserion has been reanimated as part of the Army of the Dead, and on the back of Viserion the Dragon, the Night King has destroyed Eastwatch by the Sea to make way for the Army of the Dead to march through. Eastwatch by the Sea currently residents to Tormund and Beric Dondarrion. Lord Baelish tried to turn Sansa and Arya against each other, and much to his surprise, was played at his own game.
I will never forget them.
He is now dead. Samwell Tarly and his Valyrian steel sword have arrived at Winterfell. Bran and Sam discuss Jon's legitimacy and await his return to tell him.
Jon isn't really my father's son. He's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and my aunt Lyanna Stark.
Yara is still captured by her uncle Euron, and Theon and a group of the Isle Island brothers have gone to rescue her.
For Yara!
Daenerys and Jon are sailing to White Harbour with the Unsullied, and they will meet the Dothraki on the King's Road and head to Winterfell. The season ends with Jon and Daenerys in bed together, much to Tyrion's disappointment. Jaime and the Queen's Guard are thinking up tactics, and Cersei shuts him down and reveals her true plans, including Euron Greyjoy on his way to Essos with the fleet of ships to bring the Golden Company to Westeros. The Golden Company being the most elite and expensive sellswords, 10,000 men strong, including archers, cavalry, infantry and elephants.
I don't believe you.
Following this, Jaime decides to ride north, and as he does, we see snowfall hit King's Landing. Winter is certainly here. Okay, now that Season 7 has been recapped, I think it would be a good idea to summarise the current army sizes and allegiances. Cersei with the Lannister forces and Gold Cloaks boast a pitifully small 15,000. She has the potential now of having the Golden Company. She believes the number is 20,000. I think she could be over exaggerating. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say she has 35,000, including Wildfire and a psychopath.
Your Grace, that old rumour you told me about, my little bird's investigated.
And? Is it just a rumor or something more?
More. Much more.
Lord Tarly, Dickon Tarly and Olenna Tyrell are now deceased. Samwell Tarly is unaware that he now has a command of 50,000 plus soldiers, and that his brother and father are now dead.
Dracarys.
It's also worth noting that Cersei has no real commanders at this point. Will Bronn become leader of the Lannister forces, or will he see sense? Having said that, clearly Game of Thrones isn't a numbers game.
Where are you?
The Night King and his fellow White Walkers lead an army of the undead with numbers of 100,000 and growing, including giants and potentially direwolves. To summarise Daenerys' army, she has 9,000 Unsullied, 100,000 Dothraki with horseback just for herself. Jon Snow and the North can muster up an immediate 10,000, swelling to potentially 25,000 if every northern house sacrifices their armies. The North once had more, but they lost thousands in Robert's Rebellion and during the Red Wedding. Sansa and Royce have 10,000 Knights of the Vale, with their potential to be a much greater number if Royce sacrifices the whole army. The Dornish army never took part in Robert's rebellion, and they boast a 40,000 plus army, but with Elaria captured, will we see that army used or change allegiance? It's also worth noting that there are armies in the Westerlands and the Riverlands, but at this point they really don't matter.
Make sure the guards change the torches every few hours. I don't want her to miss a thing.
Daenerys will die. She's been set out to be his heroine, but really she's exactly like her father, and she'll start to turn on people. We've most recently seen her burn the Tarlys alive, much to Tyrion's dismay. There is a good chance she will give birth, despite her questioning that she can. Theon and Euron will battle, and Theon will no doubt sacrifice his life to save his sister, Yara.
I have your sister. If you don't submit to me here now,
I'll kill her.
I believe Jon Snow will survive, or at least he will in battle. It would be terribly boring for them to kill him off again. Jon will have to make tough decisions. That might mean that he has to choose to side with his Targaryen or Stark descent. There's every possibility he marches the undead north of the wall to his certain death, or exiles himself east and becomes a farmer or something. The question I have is, how will Cersei die? There are three possibilities. Jaime, which was prophesied by the witch. He could strangle her, by giving birth, or by Arya, as she still has to get through her list. However, nobody knows of Baelish's death, so I believe Arya will be sent to King's Landing and use him, perhaps travelling with the Hound. Poison could play a part.
3 questions you get.
Beric Dondarrion,
You unlike the answers.
Thoros of Myr, ill in pain.
And now Tyrion, loved by many. I'm not sure why though. He's meant to be a wise character who drinks and knows things. By the way, he hasn't made a good decision in 3 or 4 seasons. He killed the smartest member of his family, Tywin. He failed to protect Sansa. He has failed as an advisor several times, including to Daenerys, and now I believe he's full of jealousy. The writers will turn the audience against him, perhaps siding with Cersei later on, even for his own benefit. Something we should also note down is the fact that Tyrion will not be a fan of Jon and Daenerys. Maybe because it won't be good for their ruling. Personally, I think it's because he's in love with her. Daario Naharis is back in Slaver's Bay with the Second Sons, keeping the peace. Therefore, the new love triangle is now Jon, Tyrion, and of course Jorah Mormont. I'm especially looking forward to Melisandre's part to play in Season 8. She's briefly left Westeros but has to return, much to Varys' disliking. Again, I look forward to seeing why he has such a big problem with her. So, who do I think will sit on the Iron Throne, and how do I think it will play out? Let's start with it won't go how any of us think. The writers have a theme of surprising us. The likes of Jaime, Gendry, Arya, Brienne, and even the Hound all have such a huge part to play, but will likely no longer be with us by the end of Season 8. I do hope we see the Clegane Bowl. Perhaps we'll see Arya and the Hound travel down to King's Landing together. Arya will confront Cersei, and the Hound will confront the Mountain. That'll be interesting. So although I'm sure of some things that will happen in Game of Thrones, like Daenerys will die, Cersei will die, I'm not really sure what will happen at the end. So I've got 3 scenarios that I've put together which are outside the box, but here they are. Arya and Gendry get married and join Westeros and the North as one. Bear in mind, Daenerys and Cersei will be dead at this point. Scenario 2, we have a flash forward to Cersei and Daenerys' offspring falling in love together and ruling Westeros. Scenario 3 being Tyrion will lead a council including Sansa, Royce, Samwell Tarly, and they rule Westeros collectively. One of the things that I do not understand with Game of Thrones is that they kill off the smartest people. Olenna Tyrell, Tywin Lannister, you know, 2 of the most brilliant characters of the programme, and, you know, Natalie Dormer. One thing will be interesting is that, you know, how long it will take Jaime to travel all the way to Winterfell, because it's meant to take, you know, weeks and weeks, and he's probably going to get there within a couple of days. That would be interesting.
I'm something of an
And
expert
also,
on the subject.
you know, will Jamie
A change will be a
come
pleasure
across
before long. I'll spare
Jon
you
and
the
Daenerys
pleasure
on the
of
King's
that
Road,
then.
if that's the way he's
You may
heading?
have a
And
stomach
why was
bug
Natalie
that
Dormer
will
killed
last
off?
entirely.
You know, they built this character. She was such a brilliant character, and then all of a sudden, you know, oh, Cersei's master plan blows up the crypt. You know, which was a brilliant episode, but you know, why kill off like a family just like that? And that didn't make sense to me. So Bran, obviously, he is the three-eyed raven, and he has the ability to have flashbacks. And one of the theories is that he drove Aerys Targaryen to do what he did, leading him to be known as the Mad King. And what's interesting here is that, you know, with the flashbacks that Bran has, he can also see what's going on around him at the same time. So what I'm trying to figure out is how Bran will mess up, because he's going to mess up, because they've got 2 dragons, they've got 150,000 in their army, and they've got someone who can see what's going on around the world, and yet they're not going to win. So it'd be interesting to see how Bran messes up. One of the other theories is that Tyrion is half Targaryen, half Lannister, much like Jon is half Stark, half Targaryen. This is after Aerys and Joanna had an affair. It would explain Tywin's hatred for Tyrion, but if this is true, we could see Tyrion or Jon ride on Rhaegar the dragon.
Already have one.
Good man.
2 meetings that I'm really looking forward to the most are Jon and Jaime,
That's someone, I mean.
and Arya and Jon.
From the perils beyond the wall.
They haven't seen each other for real life like 8 years, and I think that's going to be really exciting.
Good. Strong men like you protecting